Aita for refusing to go to my cousin's wedding after she flirted with my husband? Hey everyone, I could really use some advice. I'm 33F in a tough spot with my family, and I don't know if I'm handling it right. I've been married to my husband, 35M, for 5 years, and honestly, he's amazing. He's my best friend, and I trust him completely. A few months ago, we were at a family gathering, and my cousin Emma, 28F, was there. Emma and I used to be super close. Growing up, we were practically like sisters. But something happened that day that really threw me for a loop, and I can't shake it. Later that night, my husband sat me down and told me something that hit me like a ton of bricks. Emma had been flirting with him. Not just harmless small talk, but full-on inappropriate behavior. She was touching his arm, complimenting him over and over, and even asked him if he'd ever thought about them together. I was in complete shock. My husband immediately shut her down and told me everything because he didn't want any secrets between us, and I believe him completely. He's never given me a reason not to. The next day, I confronted Emma about it. I was nervous, but I couldn't just let it slide. I expected an apology or at least some kind of acknowledgement, but instead, she blew it off. She acted like I was being ridiculous and said she was just joking around. But this didn't feel like a joke to me, and my husband wouldn't lie about something like this. I left that conversation feeling unsettled, hurt, and betrayed. Since then, I've been keeping my distance from her. It's been tough because we have a lot of family events together, and every time I see her, it brings back that sick feeling in my stomach. She's acting like nothing happened, and I'm just supposed to pretend everything is fine. Now, here's where things get complicated. Emma is getting married in a few weeks, and the whole family is buzzing with excitement. Invitations went out, and of course, I got one. But the truth is, I don't want to go. How can I sit there, smiling and celebrating her, when she disrespected my marriage like that? My husband says he's okay with whatever I decide, but I can tell even he feels uncomfortable about going. The pressure from my family, though, is getting to me. They don't know the full story, and they've been piling on the guilt. My mom keeps telling me to not make this a big deal and that family has to stick together. Some relatives have dropped hints that if I don't go, it'll cause unnecessary tension. I feel like I'm being cornered into faking my way through this wedding for the sake of keeping everyone else happy. But what about me? I've been turning this over in my mind for days. Part of me feels like I should suck it up for the sake of family harmony, but another part of me knows that if I go, I'll be betraying myself. It's not like I'm trying to punish Emma or start drama. I just don't want to sit through a day of pretending everything is fine when I'm still hurt. Am I being too dramatic? Should I be the bigger person, or is it okay to stand my ground and not attend? I'm torn between wanting to keep the peace and staying true to my own feelings. So, Aita for refusing to go to my cousin's wedding after she hit on my husband, or am I overreacting? Should I just let it go for the sake of family, or do I have the right to draw the line here? I really need some perspective. Oh wow, I can completely understand why you're feeling torn right now. That situation would mess with anyone's head. First of all, I think it's amazing that your husband was upfront with you right away. That says a lot about your relationship and the trust you two have. As for Emma, her behavior was completely inappropriate, and it's even more frustrating that she brushed it off like it didn't matter. It's totally valid to feel hurt and betrayed, especially by someone you were so close to. It's tough because family pressure can be overwhelming, but at the end of the day, you have every right to protect your own boundaries. Going to her wedding just to keep the peace, when you're still feeling raw, doesn't sound fair to you. You're not being dramatic, you're standing up for your marriage and your own emotional well-being. If attending feels like too much right now, that's okay. It's not about causing drama, it's about taking care of yourself. Stay strong and trust your gut, you know what's best for you. Aita for canceling my husband's credit card privileges after he spent thousands on a friend who happens to be a younger woman. I, 35F, have always been the main breadwinner in our marriage. My husband, 40M, has had some bad luck in the job market over the past few years. So to support him and help rebuild his credit, I allowed him to use my credit card for work-related expenses. It felt like the right thing to do for our partnership, and I always assumed he was being responsible with it, focusing on networking and career growth. This arrangement worked for us, or so I thought. A few weeks ago, I started noticing some strange charges on my credit card statements. Luxury items, high-end dinners, spa visits, and even a weekend stay at a fancy hotel. My initial reaction was to assume he was planning a surprise or maybe treating me to something special. But when I casually asked him about it, he immediately got defensive, saying it was none of my business and part of his professional network investment. That response set off major alarm bells. I mean, it is my business, literally. I'm the one paying for all these charges. So why was he getting so worked up? His defensiveness didn't sit right with me, and I felt something was seriously off. I decided to dig deeper, and after some sleuthing, I uncovered the painful truth. The business investment wasn't professional at all. It was personal. He had met a woman, a 24-year-old single friend, who seemed very impressed by his generosity. The text messages between them made it clear he wasn't just helping her with career advice. He was showering her with lavish gifts, treating her to expensive dinners, and funding her lifestyle, all on my dime. I was livid. Not only was he using my hard-earned money to spoil someone else, but he had the audacity to call it a business expense. When I confronted him, he doubled down, claiming she was just a friend in need and that his support was necessary for building his client base. The nerve. I told him no professional relationship justifies thousands in personal expenses, especially without consulting me. Instead of apologizing, he turned it around, accusing me of suffocating his potential and being jealous of his generosity toward a younger woman. In that moment, I couldn't take any more of his excuses. I immediately canceled his access to my credit card and cut off the financial pipeline he had been using to fund his little side adventure. Of course, that didn't go over well. He blew up, saying I'd ruined his professional image and that I had overreacted. To make matters worse, his family, who've never liked me much, caught wind of the situation. Now they're calling me controlling and a bad wife for not supporting his career and cutting him off so abruptly. They say I should have had a conversation with him instead of pulling the plug. Meanwhile, he insists everything he was doing was for our future and that I've completely undermined his potential. I'm feeling gaslit by everyone involved. So, are they for pulling the plug on his generosity without a discussion? Or did I go too far? I didn't want to make a rash decision, but I also feel like I had no choice. I'm second-guessing myself now because of all the backlash, but I don't see how letting him continue would have been fair to me. Did I overreact by canceling his access, or was I justified in taking control of the situation? I could really use some perspective here. You are definitely not overreacting. Honestly, it sounds like you've been more than generous and patient, especially given the circumstances. The fact that he was using your money to spoil someone else while being so secretive and defensive about it is a huge breach of trust. You had every right to cancel his access to your card. It's your hard-earned money, and he's shown he can't be trusted with it. His response, blaming you for suffocating his potential, and his family's reaction, feels like gaslighting to me. You're not controlling for expecting transparency and respect in your marriage, especially when it comes to finances. It's not about undermining his potential. It's about protecting yourself from being taken advantage of. You absolutely did the right thing by standing your ground. Stay strong and don't let anyone make you feel guilty for looking out for yourself.